What's up YouTube? This is going to be your guide on how to use Smeargle in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. I'll be providing competitive movesets and some fun meme movesets too. If there's a Pokemon you'd like to see me cover, put it below in the comment section. If you enjoy these, they help you out, drop a like, and let's get into it. So Smeargle has so many moves that it can learn, it virtually learns them all, so there's going to be quite a lot of movesets for me to show you today. I think I've got about nearly 18 or something like that. So I'll just go through each individual set because you can do a lot with Smeargle depending on what sort of rules you're playing and such. So let's have a look at it. This Pokemon has very, very bad stats on everything. It has no real good stats. The best stat is its speed stat. So commonly you're going to be running max speed on Smeargle and you're going to be running max health because it has no offense at all in special attack or attack. Now, we have a look at its abilities. We have Own Tempo, which is kind of bad there, except for it can't be confused. I guess that's the only good thing. Technician, that's only really good if you're using one as an attacker. And then we got Moody. Depending on your rule set, Moody is probably one of the most handy ones because at least you can get a random stat boost, which a lot of the time can be either useful for the Smeargle or it can be baton pass onto another Pokemon. So our first set here is going to be more of a entry hazards lead Smeargle. Now, Smeargle is countered quite easily by a lot of taunt Pokemon. So the fact that you can have moves that set up, attacking moves that can set up spikes and stealth rock are very handy too. So it's very good as a sticky web user, especially, definitely in singles. So we've got sticky web on there. That's very, very handy for any sweep setups there. If you're trying to get a Pokemon that has mid sort of speed, not like super duper fast, but like medium speed, it can be very useful for your whole team. Also, it's good for Terra Ghost too, because you can sort of block any rapid spinning or any fighting type moves. It sort of works as a nice Terra for this starter set. In fact, Terra Ghost works very good on Smeargle on a lot of sets. Now, the other moves we've got is Ceaseless Edge, which is better than using spikes because you can still attack if you do get taunted, and it still has the effect of setting up one layer of spikes every turn. Same with Stone Axe for Stealth Rock. And I like to put Burning Bulwark on there instead of like Protect because you might get a contacting move against Smeargle, and then you can pass a burn off too, which can be useful if it's a a physical Pokemon, which most of the time it is. So we got Max Health and Max Speed EVs, Jolly Nature or Timber Nature, whatever you're running. So it's not super fast, but it can outspeed a fair few Pokemon. And with Focus Sash as the item, you're actually able to live one hit. So you're able to get a Sticky Web up and usually die, or get maybe a Sticky Web and a Stone Axe off to get a Stealth Rock up, stuff like that too. There are many moves that Smeargle can use as a setup mon. So this is probably more of an entry hazard set. Another good one you can put on there too, I like to put on there when I do my Pokemon sweeps, when I try and sweep with a particular Pokemon, I like to put Memento on there. Memento is a very, very good move to create a swap, and which can create a sweep or a setup. So Memento is going to drop the attack and special attack by 2 stages, which is very, very handy. You might be able to swap a really hyper offensive Pokemon in there and set up like Dragon Dance, Sword Dance, Quiver Dance, Belly Drum, anything like that. So that's another sort of filler move you can put on there too. Let's have a look at some more stat passing sets. So on this next set here, we've got a stat passing set. So there's many status moves that Smeargle can use, and a good one is Shell Smash. So you can go Shell Smash, and then you can baton pass the stats if that's a rule you in the rule set you're playing there. So you can go for Shell Smash, get a plus 2 in special attack, attack and speed, and baton pass it off. And that's very, very powerful putting onto another Pokemon. You've got Spore on there, which is a common move a lot of the time Smeargle will have. Sometimes even on these entry hazards sets, it can have Spore too. And you got Substitute, so it can also baton pass a Substitute. So it can learn virtually every move, so it's quite good. There's other ones you can pass on to if you want to pass on just physical attack and you don't want to have the drops from Shell Smash. You can do that because it's hard to put White Herb on a Smeargle because it commonly doesn't really live a hit. So you can do Sword Dance, you could do, Quiver Dance. There's quite there's heaps. You could do Tail Glow. There's lots you can do there with these sort of sets. And you can also pass a sub on if you're lucky enough that the opponent is going to be asleep for more than one turn, or at best they might swap, and then you can get a tail glow on the swap and then get a baton pass or a sub up, something like that. EV's pretty much the same there. There's not too much point running any defense or special events because it's not going to live anything anyway. It's very, very frail. Unless you're after like hyper-specific sort of moves for it to live on your format. It's just not a bulky Pokemon at all. And it can be countered by a lot of moves like Fake Out and such like that. So it's sometimes good. I think it's good to have Terra Ghost on there too. But unless it's really, really important for your team, I probably wouldn't Terra it. I think there's a lot of other better Terra options than Smeargle, for sure, because mostly it's just a setup Pokemon, right? Let's have a look at some double sort of sets here. So this set is a bit of a PIMPNITE special, I will say that. So a bit more of a gimmicky Smeargle set you can use, but it is pretty fun. So this would probably work well, definitely either with Psychic Terrain on the field from like Indeedee or something. That would definitely work well. We've got Terra Ghost on there, so we can't be, Fake Out or anything like that. And we've got Spore, Counter, and Mirror Coat, so it can guarantee a KO a lot of the time. And I've also got Explosion on there too, so I could get like an Explosion off and do some damage after that. Or I could even have Endeavor on there as well. So you essentially might be able to get 2 kills there with, or close to 2 kills with Smeargle. If you're going to run Endeavor, just push it back to, you probably don't even need any health on there, honestly. Or you might, if you want a little bit more damage on Mirror Coat and Counter. If you feel like, well, Smeargle might, it might live a little bit better, maybe don't, but you could go, I think you go full health, you'd still be fine with that. So Jolly Nature or Timid, whatever you're running, and then max health and max speed. You've got Moody on this set. If that's no good, if you get too many stat boosts up, maybe it'd be a better idea just to go own tempo so you don't get confused, and that you might hit yourself in confusion then and lose your Focus Sash. So that's a way of running Smeargle. You could do that in doubles or singles. So you kind of got Spore there. If you feel like, oh, this Pokemon may not attack me, it might be a passive Pokemon. Like say a Toxapex or something comes out and they're going to use a status with like Toxic or Toxic Spikes or whatever. You just put them to sleep and swap it out, right? So that's how I would deal with that. And then if you got something that's really powerful, that's fully set up, like a Zacian or something that's spamming Behemoth Blade or whatever, you can use Counter on it and finish it off. And then it's got reasonable speed, so you may even get an Endeavor off afterwards and do that. So that could be useful. And same with Miracle, so maybe from Miraidon spamming Electro Drift, so you could do it like that. Just gave it Terra Ghost for any like Fake Out, extreme speed, fighting moves, etc. like that. You might be able to have you might be able to get a counter KO, right? Then a fighting type comes in that's faster, but you can go Terra Ghost and go for that. Their fighting move doesn't affect you, and then get an Endeavor off, and which would be quite good. That could be a useful play there for sure. So that's a set you could try out for singles or doubles. Now, this next set here is going to be definitely less gimmicky, and it's going to be kind of more definitely useful for doubles or VGC style play. So we've got max health and max speed EVs again, Jolly Nature or Timid, whatever you want to run. Focus Sash, of course, Focus Sash is the main item you're going to see on Smeargle. It works well because it's not bulky. There are a few other items that can work on it, but Focus Sash is generally the one that's best overall. Unless you've got Substitute on there, then you might have leftovers or something like that. So we got Moody. So this can be handy for just having Fake Out to flinch the opponent, and then you've got like an ally that's a lot more powerful next to you, and then you've got Follow Me as well, so you could potentially use Smeargle as a target to get the opponent's attacks off you, and then your more powerful ally can do all the damage or set up, right? I've also got Spore on there for obvious reasons, putting Pokemon to sleep, and I've got Endeavor on there too. So those moves are all going to be very, very handy in doubles. Another good one is Wide Guard. This can block from like multi-target moves like Dazzling Gleam and stuff. So maybe if you're using like inertia field or something like that. That could be useful. You can block those moves, or hyper voice and stuff like that. So that could be a useful move to have on Smeargle too. It's just such a versatile Pokemon with terrible stats, really. That really sums it up. So it can learn all these moves, but so you sort of have to think up a good strategy to make the most of it using its moves and strategy. It's more of a strategic Pokemon rather than a powerhouse. I actually got some sweeping sets I'm going to show you, but it's definitely more of a strategic Pokemon. Another Terra you could possibly use is Grass as well. Only for other Spore users, that could be, or the powder stuff, that could be useful too. But mainly I would stick, I just like Ghost in there. I think it's the most practical Terra on Smeargle. Unless you're doing something hyper specific with it, I think that's going to be pretty good for sure. Let's check out some of these other sets I've done. Got some sweeping ones. So this is this set I've got for my Smeargle. Obviously, we know that Smeargle is a terrible special attacker, but I want to do some offensive sets anyway. So we've got Focus Sash on there. Obviously, it's mainly our item. We got Terra Ghost, Own Tempo, and we got Spore and Tail Glow. So we're going to put the opponent to sleep, and then we're going to start setting up Tail Glows. So Tail Glow only needs 2 turns of using it, and you get an insta +3, which is really, really good. And then you could go for Blood Moon. So Blood Moon is going to be very, very powerful. Even with Smeargle's low special attack, it's going to hit like a truck. And you've also got Moongeist Beam too. Moongeist Beam also ignores the abilities of other Pokemon and allows you to hit any Ghost-type Pokemon. So they've got pretty good synergy together. And maybe with the help of something like Tailwind or Sticky Web on the field, depending on if you're playing singles or doubles, you might be able to get something out of this and do some good damage. We've got definitely a more offensive set here. We've got Timid Nature, Max Speed, and Max Special Attack. But after Tail Glow, it does a surprising amount of damage, especially when you're using real high base power moves and their stab as well. So that's 140 base, and then you've got 100 base and with Terra Ghost too. So an interesting set to try out. I've actually used this in the past. It's done pretty well. It is very luck reliant though, and obviously it can be outsped fairly easily too. So there are obvious weaknesses to this set, but sometimes it all sort of depends how you go about playing it. So the next set here we got is a PIMPNITE special. This set here is going to be useful if you want to try and do a belly drum sort of set on Smeargle. So belly drum is going to give you a max in attack straight away, and pretty much you can. This is my conversion strategy. So you can also use this with Terra as well, but I think this is kind of interesting. So with this set, you've got conversion, and you can change yourself into a type depending on the first move. So say for example, I pick a high base powered physical move like Bolt Strike, right? So Bolt Strike is an electric move. So if I go conversion, I'll convert myself into an electric type Pokemon. And then you could actually, you could even have a different Terra if you wanted to, like Terra Flying. So you can convert yourself into an electric type and then use those other moves, like Bolt Strike, a Belly Drum, and Spore combination. And then you could even have like a defensive one like Terra as well. So it's sort of like having a pseudo Terra on your team, and you can convert this to any move. So you could just pick a more powerful, like I don't know. I'm just gonna pick a random move. Let's say Outrage. Obviously, Outrage would be a terrible choice on it, but if you say you had Outrage, then you could have a Dragon type move there. So that could be interesting. Or you could have another option is Extreme Speed. So you could have Extreme Speed Smeargle, and you don't even change your type around, and then you could give conversion another go. So that could be interesting. Or you could go, Shadow Sneak on there. That way you can do a lot of things, and you could have fully priority Smeargle. Pop on Technician maybe. So you've got that, and then Magnet. Well, I'd probably put Silk Scarf on there. But to play this one, you'd have to make sure that you could outspeed the Pokemon, put them to sleep, and get the Belly Drum. So you have to put them to sleep and use Belly Drum, and for them to not wake up. there's not a bad chance of that happening because a lot of people will swap out. Harder to do in doubles though compared to something like singles, and then you'd have like Terra, you have like Terra normal then, so it'd be like almost like a an Arceus or a Dragonite, and it would hit very, very hard too. And then Shadow Sneak, you've got the Technician boost for any Ghost type Pokemon, but any sort of real tanky Ghost type that is going to definitely live. Stuff like Flutter Mane and weak stuff like Gengar are going to get fainted though, so. Not a bad little set there to try out. Or alternatively, you could put Ghost on there too for Shadow Sneak. So that could be another way to boost it. But just another way, a couple more ways to run Smeargle there. Let's go into some more sets. Okay. Our next set here is going to be a Trick Room set. So Smeargle has the ability to actually set Trick Room up. Now, it does have 75 base speed, so it is kind of... It still sort of is in that good range. So if you go 252 EVs in health, and we're going to make this a special attacker, so it's not just complete setup. 252 in special attack, Quiet Nature, 0 IVs in speed. Sash, own tempo as the ability. So we've got Trick Room. So we've got an option of setting Trick Room up, Terra Ghost, obviously, and then we've got Destiny Bond. So we can either take a Pokemon with us, or if a Pokemon is on like a low amount of health, you can finish it off with Boom Burst, or you can go for Astral Barrage as well. So you've got like some options there to finish some Pokemon off. Like, say if you're in doubles, right, and they're both on a low amount of health, you might be able to finish them off with either one of these moves. So, and then you could go for a Destiny Bond. So there's a chance there you might be able to get a couple of KOs, but at least for this set you can get the room up and then you can get the Destiny Bond. So that's another way of setting up Trick Room with a Smeargle instead. A non-psychic Pokemon for a change could be useful there. Our next sort of set we got here is another sweeping Smeargle set. So this one is going to be a Technician Sweeper. I did show you one earlier on with the Extreme Speed and Shadow Sneak, but this one is fully making use of Technician to its highest base power. So Technician, any moves of 60 power or less have a 1.5 times boost. So pretty much with Technician, you want to pick moves at a 60 base power, right? Because they're going to be the strongest ones. So Rapid Spin is 50 base power, which is pretty good. It also increases Smeargle's terrible speed. And you've got Shadow Punch, which is a Ghost type move. So you get pretty good coverage with these moves. And that can never miss either. So you bypass any accuracy checks. And it's a Ghost move too for Terra Ghost. So you've got same sort of setup here. Spore, Belly Drum, Rapid Spin, and Shadow Punch. Citrus Berry, or you could put Silk Scarf on there, or Spell Tag. There's quite a few items you can put on there. Another good item for Smeargle is also Mental Herb, in case you get taunted by a prankster Pokemon or something faster. So that can definitely work as a good item for sure. There's quite a few items that can work with it outside of that too. So that's more of a physical sweeping one. Now this set is a Choice Scarf Smeargle set. It's a bit of a PIMPNITE special, but I have used this one a few times. So we've got Choice Scarf, Max Speed, Max Health, Jolly Nature. We've got Final Gambit. So we do a Raw, level 100, 314, and obviously level 50, hover that, and like Final Gambit damage. We've got Copycat, Parting Shot, and Destiny Bond. So it's a very, very support style set there, which is pretty good. Copycat's kind of useful because you can get around that if there's any like Sucker Punch or anything, but generally you probably wouldn't get hit by that. You just get hit by attacking a different attacking move. But Copycat could be fun because you might be able to Copycat like a Sticky Web or a Status, like a Stealth Rock or something like that. So just another way of running Smeargle, with Choice Scarf and Destiny Bond and Parting Shot. Terra Ghost, I ran on this one too. Next sort of set here we got is a one-hit KO troll set. This is based around one-hit KO moves. So you might have seen a set like this before. We got Spore, we got Mean Look, so trapping the opponent in, and then using Sheer Cold and Guillotine. Another one you can do instead of Mean Look can be Lock On. But as soon as you see lock on, it's pretty obvious what you're going to do. So lock on will guarantee the one hit KO or any move to hit after it's used. So you can, for example, you could go lock on and then go sheer cold and one shot them. I just did sheer cold and guillotine because sheer cold gives the most coverage for a one hit KO move, and of course with Terra Ice too, get that full accuracy. And then we got guillotine as well, just sort of covering the other ice type Pokemon. I guess the only Pokemon that might get around that would be like Frostlass or something hyper specific like that. So maybe you could give it Fissure or something like that. I think that would maybe Fissure as well. So any one of those one hit KO moves. Moody and a Bright Powder just to make it bulky, and Bright Powder for some for some misses, max health, max speed, jolly nature. So that's another way to run Smeargle. Now this set here is an evil sort of set. This is a PIMPNITE special too. So this one is to forcibly make the opponent struggle. So what you need to do is you need to firstly use Imprison on them. So what Imprison does, it makes any move known by you will force the opponent to not be able to use those moves. So you're probably thinking, well, that's pretty useless, It is, right? But if you go Imprison and then you transform into them, then they can't do anything. You will literally have all their moves, so they will be absolutely destroyed, right? So then you could firstly go Mean Look, trap the opponent in, then go Imprison, then go transform into them. And then they won't be able to do anything, literally be able to do anything at all. They'll be completely stuck in there, and they'll just struggle to death. So it's a very, very cruel set. You could do this with a couple other Pokemon like Mew and stuff too, but this is a bit of a nasty set there for sure. So if you ever see anything Smeargle using Imprison, you know what's coming. This is definitely a bit more in singles for sure that you would see this, because it's a bit tough to set up. Unless you had something like Gothitelle or Arena Trap Pokemon, something like that, or Wobbuffet, if that's in the game and stuff. So yeah, Gothitelle, Dugtrio, those sort of Pokemon that could trap the opponents in, and then you wouldn't have to bother about Mean Look, and then you could do your Imprison and transform things. So yeah, that's another way to use Smeargle as a struggle troll. I didn't really worry about terrors and stuff like that. So yeah, that's another way. All right, we got to do a Sketch set. So Sketch is such a gimmicky move, right? Usually the best way to use Sketch is generally with the move Protect. So you could either try and see a really, really cool move that you think, oh, that's awesome, a physical move, for example, and you want to sketch it, right? Say you see a normal type move and you want to sketch it. So the best way is to bring the Pokemon in. Obviously, it's got to be a Pokemon that you outspeed if you want to try and copy that move straight away, because you can't just sketch straight away. You have to see it first. And you've only got one PP as well. So you have to go for that sketch the move, and then obviously you're going to take a hit there. Now, after that, you got to go either try and put them to sleep with Spore, or whatever, a way to to get your stats up. So Spore, Recover, then Belly Drum, right? Or something along those lines, or just keep putting them to sleep until you get a chance to use Belly Drum. Or you can do stuff like this in doubles, right? You could have, actually that wouldn't be too bad. You could have something along the lines of this. So you've got an ally using one hit KO moves. You could sketch them. You could protect and then sketch them, and then have that move there, and then you could use that as well. So that could be something you could use for sure. Maybe like Follow Me or Wide Guard or something that would be useful. But that's a way that you can actually use Sketch. Now, unfortunately, you can't have more than one sketch. You can't have like more than one sketch at a time, right? So you can't have like 4 sketches. You can only have one. So, and that sort of lasts, that lasts for the battle, right? And then you don't keep that move at the end of the battle. So then it sort of just lasts for the duration of it. So that's a way how to use Sketch. Protect and Sketch are a good way to use that. Or if you see a Pokemon that's either Choice Scarfed or it's continually using the same move, you can sketch it as well. You might be able to sketch like an entry hazard or something that's useful. But generally, it's a very, very gimmicky move for sure. Unless you've got a setup on your team, like you've got a certain move you want to sketch to copy it. But generally, there's no point because you could just teach Smeargle that move too. So it's very highly, highly gimmicky for sure. There'd have to be some sort of combination you could make use for it. But if you want to use it straight up, protect and sketch works, because at least then you can scout what the move is and then sketch it, you know. So that's how to go about using sketch on Smeargle. Okay, we got some last couple of sets here, and then we're going to explain some counters and some teammates and stuff like that. I've got a couple of teammates here, useful examples. This is like a quiver dancing sort of set, so I thought I'd try and run like a bulky one, try and give you a different sort of stat EV spread. So we've got max speed, 128 in defense and special defense, so giving it all-round bulk on both sides. Focus Sash, moody ability, Spore, Quiver Dance, bulk up, and bat and pass. So you've got an option of passing off Quiver Dance and bulk up if you're able to get those off. It's pretty risky though, because when you use Spore, you put the opponent to sleep for like 3 turns, right, at max. So you gotta count that in, right? If you've got full health and you've put them to sleep, that's good. That means, say you go Spore, and then you can go Quiver Dance, right? So, but the turn you use, it counts. So you got Spore, then that's 1. Then say Quiver Dance, that's 2. And if they don't wake up that turn, you could go, oh, I'll go bulk up again. That's 3. Then they'll wake up, right? And then they'll probably attack you. So then it might be quite good to go Spore again to then get the baton pass off so your incoming Pokemon doesn't take any damage at all. So that's sort of how you can play that. Let's have a look at another double set. So this set here is definitely made for doubles. So we've got Decorate, which is a really cool move. This raises the target's attack and special attack by 2. So you can decorate your partner and give them a nice boost. Also thought we have Coaching as well. So this is not such a drastic boost, but it's also an attack and defense boost. It's sort of like a bulk up, but similar kind of thing there. So you can do those different moves to boost your ally. Spiky Shield as well is another good move on Smeargle. Sort of like, kind of like Burning Bulwark. I talked about that already earlier on. That's another different sort of form of it. This will actually do damage on contact. And then Skill Swap. So say if you got something like, I don't know, say if you've got something like a Slaking, right? Something that has a horrible ability that you just want to get rid of. You can do that and get rid of Slaking's terrible turret ability. So that could be a useful way to use that as well. Next set here. So we've got a Loaded Dice Smeargle. Now, this can do quite a few things. There's 3 Pokemon you can act, or 3 kinds of Pokemon with different abilities that this can be useful for. So first up, we've got Beat Up. Now, Beat Up is obviously a Dark type move. So Loaded Dice is not really affected by that because Beat Up is, correlates to the amount of Pokemon you have alive left on your team. So if you're playing singles and you've got all your team left, then you can get 6 Beat Ups. If you're playing doubles, well, you've only got a set amount of Pokemon. You don't have all 6 Pokemon. So yeah, just bear that in mind. But you can use Beat Up Rage Fist combination on Annihilate. So every hit you do to Annihilate will give it 50 power on its Rage Fist. So, say if you hit it 6 times, you've maxed it instantly. So it's going to be hitting super hard. Even after a couple of hits, it's going to do a lot. So even if you're doing like doubles, it's still going to do lots as well. So that's a different way to use Smeargle. Another way you can use it is Frost Breath. So 100% critical hit move on Pokemon that have Anger Point. So Anger Point, once this Pokemon gets critical hitted, it'll get a +6, like instantly boosted. So say if you got like something, that's a very, very hard, fast hitting Pokemon. Like that's going to be like very, very scary because once that gets +6 in attack, you can do some serious, serious damage. So there's a few Anger Point Pokemon that you could try that out on. Taurus is probably one of the more prominent ones, at least in this game. There's a couple other slow Pokemon like Crabominal and or less used Pokemon, and Primate and stuff like that. So you probably want to use it on Tauros or something like that, and that could be good. So that's another way to use Smeargle. Also, another way you can use Smeargle with loaded dice is Pin Missile. So with loaded dice, this is where it comes in. You can get 4 Pin Missiles off at minimum. And that works on Pokemon that have the Rattled ability. For example, you can have a stored power, the Dunsparce, and every time you get hit by a Bug, Dark, or Ghost attack, or Intimidate, it gets a speed boost. So that can work very good for like really tanky to Dunsparce, really offensive sort of sets. And, you know, with its terrible speed, well, instantly it just got +4 speed. It's outspeeding you, and then it might even go for its own, own boosting move after that, like maybe a Calm Mind or something like that. And then it's going to be hitting very, very hard. So that's another way that you can go ahead and use Smeargle. And the last move I like to put on there is Spore as well. That's just useful to have on there. And I just run Terra Ghost on there. Max health, max speed, timid nature. So that's another way to run Smeargle, if you like there. I'm just trying to think if there's any other Pokemon. I mean, there really is a lot of Pokemon that you can work well with. There really is. I've shown you quite a few of them and explained a lot of them already. I could be here for hours, right? Let's go with some Pokemon that counter it really well. So I want to say the #1 counter to Smeargle is Goldengo, right? It's a Steel and Ghost type, which is already bad for Smeargle in general, and it's got good as Gold, right? So you can't put it to sleep with Spore. You can't use Fake Out in with doubles. Even when it uses Make It Rain, right? Even when it uses Make It Rain in doubles, Follow Me is not going to work. So it's just count every day of the week as counter. So that's a very bad Pokemon for Smeargle just to ever come across, right? And even if it's got like taunting Pokemon, any taunting Pokemon is bad. You say whimsical, like, Prankster Taunt and stuff like that. That can it's very easily shut down by those sort of things. Absolutely. Some other ways it can be shut down too. Magic Bounce is a problem. So a lot of the time you might put an entry hazard onto the field, so any Magic Bounce Pokemon can bounce it back, like Hatterene or Espeon and stuff like that. They can be good counters too. Any multi-hitting moves. I mean, not many people use Double Kick, but there are a few other moves to get around that Focus Sash, right? So like Double Kick, multi-hitting moves. Let's say, let me give a good example. Mincino. That's a way. Cincino. Cincino, Morse Hold. Those sort of Pokemon that can hit multiple times can get around Smeargle's Focus Sash. Anything like, I think it's Fake Out, but any other Fake Out Pokemon too, we've talked about that already. That's kind of why I like to have Terra Ghost on there, but anything like that can get around its initial Sash and then feint it. So there's a ton of counters. So yeah, I think I've done a pretty good job here. If you've got any more Smeargle sets you'd like to cover, put them below. I definitely know that I didn't get all of them because there's so many you can do in so many different moves. So if you've got any more, put them below in the comment section there. Really hope you enjoy this one. This is actually pretty fun to do this video because there's so many different sets to do. So if you did enjoy it, if you got a Pokemon you want me to do, put it below in the comments. Drop a like on the video and I'll catch you next time. Peace.